Hello, you're watching Two Non-Critics. We're talking
Ja,
about Captain America 2. Hey, Hydra!
ja.
Two non-critics, two lifelong friends and film buffs with very different tastes coming together to talk about movies. I'm non-critic Dustin.
Monkeys. And I'm not Critic Will.
Movies. We like movies. And yeah, this movie's been out for a few weeks, but now that all the hoopla has died down and everybody has basically seen it who's going to see it, it's figured it's a good time to sit and talk about it. Now that everybody else has talked it into the ground, it's Captain America 2: The Winter Soldier.
America!
Well, Captain America 2: The Winter
America.
Soldier. And I'll just
That
say
red, white, and blue motherfucker. Okay.
I don't have much of a past with Captain America. I don't know a whole lot about him. I remember when the Captain America movie in the 90s was going to come out, and it was like they had the trailer for it at some VHS movie I rented. I can't remember what, and then never heard anything about it again until the Captain America: The First Avenger came out, and then they re-released that old Captain America movie, and I saw it. It sucked. But I liked the first one. All right, I thought it was cute, and I was looking forward to this one. So there you go. How about you? You got any Captain
My
America
Captain
memories?
America. America! Anyway, um, I first heard of Captain America not through the comics, but through the original movie they had in the 1980s. Yeah, it was like the 1980s. That Captain America movie. At the time, as a kid, I was like, "Oh, this is cool. This is awesome." Like once they injected him with the super soldier serum and everything, and he grew these big muscles and everything, and he fought um, what was his name?
Red Skull?
Red, Red Skull.
Mm.
And Red Skull kind of creeped. As a kid, he kind of creeped me out. Just the way he looked, that was kind of creepy. Um, and he was pretty much Captain America's equal in every sense of the word, as far as strength and um, just smarts, IQ, and everything. Like he was just on the same level as Captain America. He was actually the first project you can say that kind of fucked up. But that was my first experience with Captain America, and then I started getting into the comics or whatnot, and got really interested in this Marvel hero. And then once they did the remake, the first remake, um, I thought it was really good. For me, I thought it was really good. So I was in, and then the Avengers came out, and they brought together Captain America plus the 3 or 4 other heroes, and I was like, oh, this is an amazing movie actually. So I was anticipating the sequel. So that's my history with Captain America. It all started with that 1980s film that was just like, oh, red, white, and blue
Bad, man.
in tights.
Red Letter Media they have a show called Best of the Worst, and they watched that old Captain America movie. Man, it's worse than I remember. And but but anyway, that movie sucks. So
Yeah.
Captain America: The Winter Soldier, I will say I thought was very good. It
Yes.
definitely surpasses Captain America: The First Avenger, uh, and it it's a nice transition of Steve Rogers' character. I think I was kind of sad at the end of the first Avenger, thinking, I kind of want to see other Captain America adventures in World War II time, but
Mm-hmm.
they pulled it off so well in The Winter Soldier that I was okay with it. And I'd say that Steve Rogers is by far my favorite thing about this movie. Something that's really interesting is a lot of reviews for this are calling it a smart film. That it's a movie that it's not a dumb action movie. This is a smart movie. This is like on par with, say, like a Tom Clancy movie or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I wouldn't call it smart, but it's certainly not stupid. This is the kind of movie when I go see, like, let's say a Transformers movie or something, and then I end up hating it inevitably because it's so stupid.
Here we go.
in every way. People do. They always, whenever somebody reacts negatively to like a big summer blockbuster movie, there was like,
Yeah.
well, what did you expect? Captain America: The Winter Soldier is what I expect. A movie that's not stupid, that's not really smart, but at least it's engaging, it's well made, it's well paced, and the characters feel like people.
Yeah.
No, this to me is what a big budget action movie is supposed to be. This is the standard, and I'm sort of I find it sort of interesting that a movie that to me is very basic, not taking anything away from it, it's very basic, and in a good way, is being considered by many to be a smart action thriller. Is sort of interesting to me. What does that say about most of our action thrillers? If this is the smart one.
Yeah.
But what did you think of The Winter Soldier?
I I thought it was a really good movie. Same. I thought it was better than the first one. One thing with the actor that actually plays Captain America, Chris Evans, it just it's been since he did Captain America for the first movie, the first remake. I mean, it's been a different feel for him because I'm used to him playing very comical. Like he does action, suspense thriller movies, but he's very comical in every sense. Like, I mean, he was Johnny Storm in Fantastic Four. He's very comical, very like a jokester. The Losers, Not Another Teen Movie.
Yeah.
Like he was just, he's always very, yeah. He's always very comical, but to see this actor go in depth to play like a very serious role, was very interesting, and he played it off well. So on top of that, with just the visual effects, the other actors that played in the movie, I thought it was a really good movie. I also do love the fact that I think his name is Sebastian Stan, I think, the one that played Bucky. I like that same actor return, because a lot of times in sequels, if there's someone that's a returning actor or actress that's not the main character but a side character or whatnot, they may change the actor or the actress. I'm happy that they kept him. He actually signed on to be Bucky again. So I definitely appreciated that fact, because I just hate when they do changeovers. I hate that.
I didn't recognize him at all. I mean, I didn't pay very close attention to the first Avenger.
Was it the long hair?
No, I just didn't recognize him. I mean, you could have. I just didn't recognize him. I mean, I knew. Spoilers, but everyone on the planet has seen this movie by now. But I mean, when the big reveal that Bucky was the Winter Soldier, I was like, okay. I mean, I knew he was the Winter Soldier because I remember when the Winter Soldier story came out. But in the comics, so I knew Bucky was the Winter Soldier, but I mean, if I didn't know that, I would have needed the movie to explain to me, oh, this is his friend from the first one who fell off a train. Remember? I'm like, oh, okay, because I did not recognize it, and it has nothing to do with the makeup or the hair or anything. It's just I didn't care about him in the first movie. And I was like, oh, okay.
And somehow falling off the train down to the icy ground, he pretty much only lost an arm. No death.
Just Nazi science.
Just lost an arm.
Yeah.
You're an amazing guy.
I like what you brought up about Chris Evans, because I think he is phenomenal in this movie. He is kind of the sole reason anybody gives a shit about Captain America, because when the movie came out, no one cared about Captain America. It's kind of like Iron Man.
Yeah.
People knew who Iron Man was, but he wasn't Spider-Man. He wasn't. Spider-Man's like the Mickey Mouse of Marvel. Now it's Iron Man, literally. Disney owned him. But it's Captain America is one of those characters that fell into sort of like camp territory, and
Yeah.
people just didn't give a shit about him. They're like, oh, he's from those old times when comics were used as propaganda. And I honestly think it's Chris Evans's performance, a performance that is surprisingly subtle. He does a lot of little things that sell Steve Rogers, and that he is my favorite thing about this movie. He is, I'm going to say it, he's incredible in the movie. He is what sets this movie above anything else. Because, like I said, there's so many like just little things here and there that he does. Either like the way he like the scene where, I mean, this isn't, it's obviously in the script, but the scene where Black Widow is at that supercomputer and she's like, "Shall we play a game?" And she's about to say, that was in the movie, and he's like, "Yeah, I know, I've seen it." Just how he quickly was like, you can tell that over the years he's been catching up on pop culture. He's been all this kind of stuff, and he's sick of people explaining shit to him. He's like, "Yeah, I know, I've seen it." Like, I just thought that was, I thought that was great. And then the scene in the elevator when he does like that Jason Bourne fight with all those guys, and just like the look on his face, he's like, "Does anybody want to leave before this starts?" It's just like, he has this weight to him that's like, "Look, I can kick all of your asses. I'd rather not do this, but if I'm going to have to, I'll give you the option to leave."
With not just Chris Evans, but what I was thinking about, was going to say earlier, is that Chris Evans, he brings us a surprising role to the character. Just like anytime you see an actor that's usually comical, and then all of a sudden they play a serious role, for me it's a big shock. Like, wow, I didn't know that they were capable of doing that, because I always see them as being funny. For instance, not just Chris Evans, but Jim Carrey, when he played in The Number 23, that was nothing but serious. Ashton Kutcher, I'm used to him, that 70s show and everything, then he plays The Butterfly Effect. Very serious. It's just stuff like, when actors make a change from what you're used to, it does a big impact. Nobody, when The Dark Knight was first heard, when The Dark Knight was first coming out, and you heard that Heath Ledger was going to be the Joker, I'm pretty sure a lot of people were like, Heath Ledger as a Joker?
People were all idiots.
You mean the guy from 10 Things I Hate About You and Brokeback Mountain and all that? Like, really? Him? But then he nailed it spot on as the Joker. Like, he did a phenomenal job. He actually did better than Christian Bale. Pretty much the Dark Knight was more about Heath Ledger than it was Christian Bale. So when you have an actor that you are used to playing this type of role in these movies, and then they switch and do a phenomenal job, that leaves a big impact.
That's my favorite thing that they can do in a film, is when they take an actor who you would not immediately put in that role, and then they do it. That's why I got really excited when they said Heath Ledger was going to play the Joker. And I'm not kidding. I'm not making that up in retrospect to sound like cool, like, oh, I always knew he was going to be brilliant. I mean, I saw a lot of the other movies he did, a lot of the small independent movies, and I knew he could do it, and I was excited. And I'm not kidding. I had this conversation with someone a few weeks before The Dark Knight came out. And they're like, "So do you think, come on, you think Heath Ledger is going to be better than Jack Nicholson?" "Yes." And he's like, "Really? That quickly? You're just going to say yes?" I was like, "Yeah, he's going to be better than Jack Nicholson. I don't give a shit. I'll say it." And then as soon as that movie came out, they're like, "Fuck Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, man."
See, okay, I probably would have been one of those people that argued with you too, because as far as I'm concerned, Jack Nicholson is my Joker. Jack Nicholson is and Michael Keaton is the Batman that I knew, that I grew up with. Michael Keaton.
I was going to bring up Michael Keaton, because when he was originally cast as Batman, people Kevin Smith talks about this all the time, so I'm just going to reiterate what he said. In 1989 or 88, when it was first announced that Michael Keaton was going to play Batman, and this was before the internet, Warner Brothers was like bombarded with hate mail, because they're like, Mr. Mom is not going to play Batman. If you're trying to do this darker movie, you're not going to cast fucking Beetlejuice as the Dark Knight. That is just the worst idea ever. And then he came
Which
out
one?
and he fucking nailed it.
Which one came out first, Beetlejuice or Batman? Because I was actually about to say something about that.
Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice came out first before Batman.
Because another thing Kevin Smith pointed out is like you would think he might consider casting Alec Baldwin as Batman, being that he had very Bruce Wayne type looks at the time. But no, man, Michael Keaton again nailed it.
Here's the thing with I did not see Beetlejuice until I didn't see Beetlejuice before I saw Batman. I saw Batman first. So then when I saw Beetlejuice and Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice, I'm like, oh, what? That's a big transition from very serious, very dark to very comical and goofy. Trying to be horrific, but just more comical and goofy. Now, as far as Alec Baldwin, they had him in a superhero movie in a sense, but of course it wasn't Batman. It was the Shadow, if you remember that. It was
the
Shadow.
Guy who inspired, the character that inspired Batman.
Yeah. So, like, it's those different transitions because for me, I saw Batman first before I saw Beetlejuice. So then when I see him as some comical ghost, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. This is the same guy as, I want you to tell your friends about me. I'm Batman. So,
and I think, while Chris Evans is definitely the star of this movie, and I'm glad. I guess he's announced that he's probably done after Captain America 3, playing Captain America. I'm kind of glad, not that I wanted him to stop playing Captain America, but if this movie proves anything, it's that Chris Evans is an immense talent, and he deserves to go on and play many different roles and sow his actorly oats or whatever. But while he is the strongest element here, that's not to say that the other actors are slouches here. This is by far the best depiction of Black Widow yet, the best depiction of Nick Fury, and with Falcon, I don't know the actor's name, unfortunately. Who played Falcon? Anyway,
sure.
Falcon. I totally bought his character right away, and their relationship was solid. I totally bought them as like instant buddies, and like I actually liked Scarlett Johansson a lot in this. It's not that I don't like her, but
sorry, Anthony Mackie. That's the character. That's
right.
Anthony Mackie.
Mm-hmm. I liked him in this a lot. And this is the first time I saw Samuel L. Jackson playing Nick Fury, and I saw Nick Fury in Iron Man 2, and in the Avengers, and his little cameo in Captain America 1. It felt like, oh, there's Samuel L. Jackson playing Nick Fury. This time I was like, no, that's Nick Fury. He's putting in a real performance in this movie, and I think that was one of the biggest surprises as well.
And that goes to show actually what you were talking to me about before we were live is the fact that it doesn't matter, if they change the race of the character, the gender of the character, or whatnot. As long as you are able to play that character spot on, it's a good movie because, of course, everybody's used to Nick Fury being Caucasian. I think originally it was David Hasselhoff was Nick Fury.
Yeah.
So then once they switched to Samuel Jackson, I was like, what? Like Samuel Jackson, what the fuck?
Well, they did do that in the comics first. I think I am probably wrong, but I think the first time Nick Fury was a black guy was in The Ultimates, which is Marvel's version of Ultimate Avengers. Yeah. And they very purposefully based him on Samuel L. Jackson, so that's why they cast him in the movies, besides of it just being great casting. So, within the comics, they did change his race, but, no, it's still, he's really good in this. It's easy to forget that Samuel L. Jackson is actually a really good actor. Because he just usually plays Samuel L. Jackson, except for when he's playing Mace Windu and then his little band.
Well, one of the movies I love Samuel L. Jackson was The Negotiator.
Yeah,
That was
he was
really
in
good.
that. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you know what I mean. Like it's like
Yeah.
almost ever since Snakes on a Plane, he's
Oh
just
God.
kind of played Samuel L. Jackson and everything.
Oh my God.
And
That tragedy.
well, they intended it to be bad, but
Yeah.
I mean, so in this, to see him give a performance with a lot of weight to it, I mean, he holds his own against Robert fucking Redford, man, Hollywood legend Robert Redford, who's
Yeah, he
also
does.
very good in the movie. Um,
Mhm.
and he has a number of scenes with him, and again, their relationship. They never really introduced Robert Redford at all before in the Marvel movies, and you totally get that he is Samuel L. Jackson's superior, and that Nick Fury has the utmost respect for him, and so when the inevitable betrayal happens, there's some actual emotion going on there.
My my question is for you. I mean, you pretty much answered, but I'm just to confirm: is it safe to say that the character that's the most out to you is Captain America? Is Chris Evans?
Absolutely, they did, yeah. I mean, I'm going to bring up something. I keep mentioning Kevin Smith, of course, but anybody who knows me, I do that quite a bit. But he had Joe Quesada, the uh, chief creative officer, I think, or whatever of Marvel Entertainment, and who he used to be the editor in chief. But he had him on his Fat Man on Batman podcast, and they were talking about Captain America and about the movie, and they're saying like there's so many things in the movie that like small moments in the movie that you really that really sell what a good guy Steve Rogers is. Like not only is he a superhero, he's a good guy. Like
Yeah.
the scene where he and Black Widow are in the car that they stole, and she has her feet up on the dash, and Captain America's like, "We're only borrowing this car. Take your feet off the dash." Like, come on, that's a good guy. like, um, and his I I really enjoyed this character. I was worried. I was so worried that they were going to go dark with it, and they were going to make him like this man out of time, and he's like dark and brooding because he's bummed out about everybody he knows either being having Alzheimer's or dead, and they didn't.
Ah,
He's just trucking along, man. He's just like,
hint,
I'm
hint.
here. I got to make the best of it.
When you the whole what you just said about having Alzheimer's and whatnot.
Man, that was a rough scene.
His female interest in the first Captain America. Of course, she's old now, and he actually went to visit her in the hospital. And all of a sudden, she finally realized. She's like, "Steve, is that you?" I was like, "Oh, damn, that
Yeah,
must suck."
yeah, and you get the feeling he does that several times a week and has to deal with that all the time. She's getting her own TV show, by the way. Did you know that?
What kind of TV show is that?
They're going to do a spin-off of Captain America TV show. It's going to be like a short-run TV show, and
Yeah,
that character and her name suddenly say it's Agent Carter. Is her name Agent? I think her name's Agent Carter.
yeah,
She's
he
getting
is
her own
correct.
TV show, so it's going to be like take place in the 40s and everything.
Well, I will say, what's the character was still to me. Of course, yeah, was Steve Rogers, but also Bucky. Um, you know, they didn't. What you just said about Cap, you were afraid that they were going to have Captain America like go to his dark side or whatnot. They didn't have to do that because they had Bucky the whole damn time in there, and
And they
I,
didn't dwell on Bucky too much either. That could
they
have been a
didn't
mistake.
that yeah they didn't dwell on Bucky too much. But what I like about the situation with Bucky is that this is someone that was supposedly dead, number one, and then he was frozen, just like Captain America. Like, I mean, not in the same sense, but he was frozen, just like Captain
Yeah.
America. So to wake up, uh, I believe the year is 2012 still, or 2013 in the movie, but to wake up in 2013 and seeing all these different things and not having no memory of your past or your best friend and just um, being told to do this, assassinate this person, assassinate that person, and also having electric shock or so go to your head to really just to erase your memories, so you'll just be a tool, just to be a killing machine. You know, they really brought out his Bucky's dark side, and then on top of the fact that he still had little glimpses of his past life, you know, which made him confused, which made him question everything. And then they just give him more treatment so he can be the perfect assassin. You know, they really brought out the dark side of Bucky. So I thought that was interesting.
And that's okay because he's the antagonist. So I mean, you can make the antagonist as dark as you want. I just don't want the super bummed out, depressed protagonist. You know, I didn't want. I'm glad the main character wasn't the Winter Soldier. I'm glad Cap was the main character.
You know, the only time I can think he was extremely depressed was when Bucky died. That was the only really big depressing scene that you saw when Bucky died, because he was in the bar trying to get drunk, but because of the super soldier serum, he could not get drunk. So he was just depressed about that he couldn't even get drunk to just like relieve some of the pain of the loss of his best friend.
Mm-hmm. There's two other things I wanted to mention. I mean, there's not much we can say about this movie that hasn't been said already, but the other main things I want to talk about were the action and the whole Hydra thing. And if there is someone out there watching this, not that we have many viewers, who hasn't seen the movie, you may not want to listen any further, because first I'll touch on the action because I have very little to say about it. I complain about action all the time in movies because far too often the action makes up for poor storytelling. Here, I got the feeling that it almost went too far at the end. It almost pushed it too far, but it's even while all this insane shit was going down, they kept it about Captain America. It was his story, and it was focused on him. So what I liked is that not only did they rein it in, I mean, it's still really big, but they reined it in, they kept it focused, and then all the other action in the movie didn't feel CGI. It wasn't Michael Bay. It was more like down to earth. I mean,
you know,
as down to earth as you can get. Practical effects, that sort of thing.
Before you touch on the second thing with the Hill Hydra, I'm going to interject too about the action. Before I saw Captain America, a lot of people were telling me that the action was kind of like Jason. You even said it earlier, Jason Bourne.
It's more like a Bourne movie.
The Bourne movies were great. They left a big impression on everybody. They left a big impression on the action sequences, the story, and whatnot. It reminded me a lot of the Bourne Identity. Just the way the action sequences are set up, because it's like you said, like real life scenarios, and just what are you going to do in that situation? What are you going to do to disarm this person? What are you going to do to apprehend this one or stop this thing from happening? What can you think of quickly to alleviate this problem, alleviate the situation? So I like that the action was like that, and it wasn't just a whole big cinematic thing, like you're watching Incredible Hulk. That has to be cinematic because it's Incredible Hulk. But to see that these are just actually real life people, and they're just bringing out their best to either save the day or destroy the day. Whatever it is, whatever the situation is. But yeah, a lot of people before I saw it told me they're like, I felt like I was watching the Jason Bourne movie, and it was cool.
Yeah, it's more about like the scene where the first big action scene in the movie where Nick Fury gets attacked out on the street. That was a pretty tense scene, and it was all it wasn't big sweeping CGI stuff doing all these crazy things. It was a guy trying to survive. Yeah. And I really, really liked that. And again, like the elevator scene was a guy getting out of a situation. Or even all the stuff with the Winter Soldier, even though he had that super Terminator hand, they still kept it kind of like within the means of what they established. They're like, yes, he's an incredible fighter. This arm gives him incredible abilities, but they didn't go overboard with it, and I really, really like that a lot. And even that actually the first big scene, I guess, is on the freighter when they're trying to steal those things, that computer software or whatever.
Yeah.
That scene was good too. It was quiet, and it was all about stealth. I thought that was really cool. But anyway, the Hydra thing. And again, here's the heavy spoiler territory. The Hydra thing I thought was genius. I don't mean genius like these people are super smart for coming up with this, but that is a really, really brave choice to not only depart so far from the comics by saying, look, not only is Hydra still around, but Hydra is everywhere, and S.H.I.E.L.D. is Hydra, pretty much, to really go into the kind of like the core of the Marvel Universe and say it's not what you thought it was is huge. And not only is it huge for them to do that, but they were facing, like after what they did with the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, people were pissed because they changed the Mandarin so much. And this could have gone down like that, but most people seem to be cool with it because they handled it so well. What do you think of Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I thought that was an interesting twist because I wasn't keeping up with the comics that much, so I didn't know about that situation with Hydra.
That's the thing. That situation doesn't exist in the comics.
So
Hydra exists, but that situation does not.
So I thought that was an interesting twist. They played it off really well. And it to pretty much show that Hydra still exists, and it's within your own the core of your own organization. That was an interesting twist.
It's like, what if you found out the Secret Service or the CIA or whatever in America, they're all secretly Nazis? That's basically the equivalent of Hydra infiltrating S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah,
that's kind of intense. Anyway, any final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I thought it was a great movie. I don't know if I would go as far as saying it was the best Marvel movie yet. I don't know. I can't say that yet. I just can't say. It was good. It was like on like the top 10, but I can't say yet if that was for me the best Marvel movie I've seen yet. But I am looking forward to the sequel because of course, like every Marvel movie, they show something at the end of the credits. So I don't know if it's either going to be the second Avengers movie first, or if it's going to be Captain America 3.
Captain America 3 is coming out May 6th, 2016. It's the same weekend as Superman Batman is coming out. They're coming out on the same exact day. That should be interesting.
Wow, that's a lot of controversy. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm sorry, but I'm pretty sure Captain America is probably going to get bigger box office that opening weekend. But
well, we got to see how Batman goes because it's going to be Ben Affleck, right, as Batman.
Yeah, but you're not going to see Batman until Batman Superman 2016. So
when is Batman with Ben Affleck coming out?
2016, Batman Superman.
No, I'm talking about Batman his own, Batman himself.
No idea.
They don't have a date yet? Okay.
They're not making that movie yet. The Batman with Ben Affleck is going to be the Batman Superman movie coming out in 2016 is the Ben Affleck Batman movie.
Oh, okay. All right.
They're the same. They're one and the same. I think what they're planning on doing is they're going to do Batman Superman, which is actually Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Cyborg, Lex Luthor, probably a bunch of other DC movie characters. Mm-hmm. Then they're going to do Justice League. Then they'll do a solo Batman movie. I think that's what I think is probably going to happen. But anyway, so next is going to be Guardians of the Galaxy, which I'm very much looking forward to. I love the Guardians of the Galaxy comic. I can't wait to see that. And then Avengers too. So yeah, looking forward to that. And my final thoughts is, I think this is the second best Marvel movie. It's hard to say. I think the Avengers exists on its own thing because nothing like the Avengers has really existed successfully before. Where you take different characters from different movies that exist in the same universe and give them their own movie together.
Yeah.
Has never really happened before. So that's like its own thing.
Yeah.
So this is the best Marvel standalone movie for sure. It's sort of Marvel's Dark Knight. I'm not saying it's as good as the Dark Knight, but it's their Dark Knight. It's the one that sort of changes everything, and deals with consequences. So there you go.
My bad. I mean, we're at our final thoughts, but final thoughts. We're at our final thoughts. Final question.
Yeah.
Just because we brought up the Avengers, as far as the Incredible Hulk himself, how did you? Do you think that Mark Ruffalo? I think his name Ruffalo. Do you think Mark Ruffalo is a better Hulk than Edward Norton?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised because Edward Norton did a phenomenal job.
Oh, he did. He did a great job. But I think Edward Norton was very, very good. But I never felt like that was Bruce Banner on the screen. I always felt like that was Edward Norton on the screen. And whenever he transformed into the Hulk, I felt like, okay, that's the Hulk now, and he's going to turn back into Edward Norton. In the Avengers, I think it's also because the character has grown to become okay with being the Hulk, so he's much more likable. He's not dealing with as much BS as he was in The Incredible Hulk, and I never questioned for a moment that it was Bruce Banner. And when he became the Hulk, part of that is because they did motion capture with Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk, so that's him playing the Hulk, but they just CGI'd him up. But it was totally seamless to me. That the big Hulk felt like the same little guy, and the same little guy felt like the big Hulk. So I think that was much more. And they're both better than Eric Bana, so there you go.
Oh yeah.
So
all right, that's
final thoughts on Captain America: The Winter Soldier. We'll be back with another episode, and until then, Hail Hydra, y'all.